Today's topic, I've been watching a lot of UK radio, all right? They got some good stuff where they do like political commentary, and I always like listening to some of the calls because I think the people who do the UK media some of them do a great job of having conversations with folks. So this is one I wanted to play for you guys. It's a caller who called into the radio station called LBC.
So I'm hearing all these things about sports and the BLM this year, but what I'm not hearing is people open up the conversation to say, I used to be racist and I was racist and now I'm not racist.
That would make a blimmin' good phone-in, actually, wouldn't it?
So I personally used to be racist and now I'm not racist. And if I was to be penalised for that anywhere, my way of going around business would be to say, I used to be racist and this was the journey I took and this is why I'm not racist and here I am, punish me or not.
So tell me your story then.
I want to stop it right there. I want to just take a second to appreciate something. Somebody mentioned something about themselves that some folks might think is cancel worthy. Some people might think it's worth condemning. And the radio host instead didn't go to do any of that. He said, I'd like to hear more about what happened. I think just sometimes that patience and understanding is the difference between growing and not. Do you dig what I'm saying? Giving people a chance to make mistakes, to learn, to speak about them, and to have a lengthy conversation about it. And I think that's why I appreciate even just like his tone and response.
So I'm 26, and I grew up in Blackpool, which is predominantly a white town. And as a child, what I saw on the media was this constant refugee story stuff, 9/11, all these stories, and people around me were racist. And I would hear these stories, and it would be funny business, having a giggle. And as I've got older, I find it disgusting because I've took a journey. When I've gone to university, I've gone to college, I've gone through life, and you meet people from different backgrounds, and you start to learn that quickly can be turned on you yourself. So, for example, I learned Irish history. And that's a whole can of worms on its own, right? And when you start to open up the history of who you are and where you've come from, you quickly learn that prejudice comes in many forms. And my ancestors some of them would have been prejudiced. And people keep all this cancel culture stuff. People are quick to come out and say, no, I'm not racist, I'm not racist, but I'm not hearing anybody talk about the journey of why they're not racist anymore.
So he said a lot of interesting things in there. He spoke about Irish history, and if you aren't familiar with Irish history, it's definitely worth reading about. From the very little that I've read, you would know that they are a group of people who've been heavily discriminated against based off of their ancestry alone, both in America and in Great Britain as well. So, just knowing that white people, depending on where you were born, completely devastating how they were treated in a lot of ways. But then he also said something else I think was interesting, which is how being around folks from different cultures, being exposed, being educated, helped him to undo some of the bad thought patterns that he had. It's crazy how knowledge can help you realize that you are, because in my opinion, I think a lot of prejudice comes from faulty thinking, and that you engage in these thought patterns that are pretty basic because it simplifies the world around you. It helps you aggregate information to come out to a conclusion to best preserve yourself. I see refugees on boats, therefore the media has been telling me it's a crisis, therefore they are bad people and I need to get rid of those people or stay away from those people, right? If you don't interact with people from those backgrounds, maybe they got your supermarket is from Syria, maybe the person that goes to school with you is from Lebanon. If you don't get a chance to interact with these people and realize that they come in much different faces than what the media presents to you, then you're only going to know them in one way, and that could lead you down these bad paths. So it was great to hear how him going through these experiences helped him undo this stuff. What do you think?
It's just a fact. You said it all. That's a fact. It's really that. There's also propaganda. There's propaganda that we don't even know that we are subjected to. What we see in the media, what we are bombarded by the media and stuff like that. You might think it's just a movie, but if it's all the movies, all you see is the same thing. The black person playing the bad guy and a black woman always being angry and always screaming and always have attitude. Sometimes that's how you're going to perceive that thing. without having, if you're not in contact with that, and the only contact that you have with black people is a TV, or the only contact that you have with a certain group is what you have in TV or media, and the only perception that they give you and they shoot at you is a negative one, sometimes that's going to form your perception. It's not even so much your fault, it's what you
see.
It's what you see. It's what you're basking in. Now, what is your fault is what you do with that perception. That's your responsibility. What you do with those images, and oh, those people, I know those people, they're lazy. Who told you they're lazy? What do you mean they're lazy? What experience did you have with them that they were lazy? I don't know. That's what I know. Yeah, well, now it's time to have a little, voyage and a little trip to what you know.
Yes. That your responsibility is to question everything. That's your responsibility.
Yeah. So I understand that everybody got their trauma, everybody got their experiences, everybody got their biases. But that's your responsibility to question those things.
I used to have prejudice against blonde people.
Of course you did.
Yeah. Because growing up, I just thought they were idiots and airheads that had easy lives.
Because that was shown. There were old jokes about it. There was books written just for blonde jokes.
Yeah, and I didn't interact with blonde people, so I carried that later on in my life. So even when I saw women, I was like, man, women with dark hair only, right? And if a woman with blonde hair even tried to approach them, I'm like, get away from me, right? But that just came from my biases.
Yeah.
That just came from my biases and the way I internalize. I can easily see how that applies to a lot of different things. Today's video is sponsored. Oh, wait. All right. You already know. Okay, we're ready. Today's video is sponsored by Blue Chew. Say it with us now, Blue Chew. It's time for you to gain more confidence and longer lasting experiences in the bedroom with Blue Chew tablets, okay? You deserve better. She deserves harder. Get it together. Bars. Listen, Blue Chew is a unique online service that offers you the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in a chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. And one of the best parts is that, Blue Chew, it's an online service, so you don't need to go to the doctor and have an awkward conversation with that person. All you gotta do is go to bluechew.com. You just need to consult with one of their medical licensed professionals, and once you're approved, we just ship it to your door. And we got a special deal just for you guys. You can try Blue Chew for free when you use promo code ABBA. All right. And all you got to do is pay for the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com using promo code ABBA and get your first month free. So a big shout out to Blue Chew for sponsoring this video.
What was there one sort of light bulb moment for you, or was it just a gradual thing?
So one thing that happened when I was 18 was a bunch of people from Manchester who come from, I assume, Caribbean origin, weren't very nice to me. And I was to say the only white man in that group, and all these racial slurs were targeted at me. And then all the things that they were joking about weren't too dissimilar from what people from my background were doing. I mean, I quickly learned, that these what goes around comes around, and it's all about, for me, having people from different backgrounds and experience different things. But you see, I think a lot of people aren't open to this dialogue because they get defensive and they got careers to I don't know what how you'd say it. You've got careers that they want to maintain, so they will never openly say, I used to be racist and here's why I'm not now.
I wanted to say something about that. So when I was growing up, at least in high school, when I immigrated to Canada, at the time where I moved there was a lot of animosity between the black teenagers and the white teenagers. Okay? It was like, I'm not even talking like, oh, I don't like you. It's like, they used to beat each other up. They used to catch each other when they were alone, and you'd get your ass stomped out. And there's no hyperbole. I would watch it every weekend. People would go across the bridge to go beat up white folks, and they would come across. It was a really weird time in some ways. And I remember I was present with a group of people, went to a club at one point, and I knew one of them really well, but the rest of them I was just loosely affiliated with. And after I came out the club, I was waiting for a cab to head back, and they started huddling up. And I was like, what's going on? Next thing I know, they laced up some dude, right? Beat him up, snuffed him out. Dude was on the floor. They took his shoes, took everything. And if you used to go clubbing, you might know this. You can speak to, you were a bouncer. Every time you went out, there were fights.
Yes.
Every time I went out, people would get knocked out.
Fights, pepper spray, stabbings.
Every weekend, Friday, Saturday, sometimes even Sunday. You know, we go to church, then we lay somebody. They were always fighting. So me, I seen this, I'm confused. And then people just spread out. Once they beat somebody up, everyone books it. And I remember just thinking back on this recently, but I'm like, I wonder if that white dude who got beat up by all those black people developed negative emotions towards black folks. The same way a lot of the black folks I knew who got beat up by white dudes developed those feelings. And there was a lot of that tension. And sometimes, that's an extreme example where like violence, but sometimes with even more subtle situations where you get insulted by a group or you get these it could jade you, right? And it creates that kind of animosity. Is that fair? Is that just? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I understand how this cycle kind of functions, and I've witnessed it before. So those are my thoughts. What did you have to say about everything you just said?
I mean, you develop some kind of PTSD. I know I have my PTSD. Funny thing is,
hey, you already know it's about to be good.
No, it's not. It's not a big thing. It's really just funny thing is now it's like a fashion to have high boots. You know, black people wear. You see, a couple of years back, you saw Chris Brown wear Doc Martens, high boots, and I have, you know, I like shoes. You know, I have a lot of shoes and stuff like that. Never bought Doc Martens, not because I don't think they're nice, but it's because of what it represents for me, right? I grew up in an era where there was still a lot of skinheads, and the red Doc Martens, 21 holes, white laces. That was trouble. I would go to the bus. I'd take a bus, and it was if at the end of the bus there was bummer jackets, and there was Doc Martens, 21 holes, white laces. I gotta get home, but I gotta get through this first, you know. Who was about to get it in. It's just what and all of this had to happen. It's not sometimes if I would get off the bus stop, it would things would have to happen. A throwdown, you know what I mean? So the bummer jackets, I'm fine because the guys wearing the black bummer jackets, they were all right. You've seen me with the black bummer jackets. They were fine with us. But the red bummer jackets, the red Doc Martens. As a matter of fact, you know my mentor was telling me stories about him in Quebec City fighting skinheads and having to rob red bummer jackets because it was real, it was live, that's what was happening. So yes, it creates a certain PTSD. It creates something with you that stays with you because of things that you endure, you know what I mean? There's always that scene in American X story where the guy puts his mouth on this. I've seen that before the movie, real life. You know what I mean? Seen stuff like that happen. I'm not gonna go into the details, but so I can understand why some people is gonna have certain, if they live through the same era I lived through, and for no reason they see someone getting jumped like that in a bus with machetes and stuff like that or whatever.
Hating the other group was kind of just part of what you did.
You had to. It was kind of like an open air prison. You had your group and you had to stay with your group. And if you were mingling, that's why sometimes because on my street I was in a good neighborhood and my friends were white, right? So, and that's why I segregate my friends. Not all my group friends chill or have met, right? I have this group for that. I have that other group for that. And they segregate because sometimes they will not meet. They cannot meet because I had this group of friends that were really into hip hop and they were black and they were not, or the other group of friends that I had that were really mixed, but they were from the projects. They couldn't mix with the kids from my street. They couldn't mix with the people from my, like it couldn't mix. And that mentality of segregating my friends because I had the code switch throughout a lot of things, right? It stayed and it's there. So it can go really deep with that. You have to understand why you're doing certain stuff. Not segregate my friends. Certain friends are not going to meet certain other friends. My wife hasn't met my wife has met only maybe 10% of the people I know. 10% of the people I know. Because they don't mix. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not, I know it's not going to be a fit. I know it's not going to mix. It's not going to go it's not her thing, or it's not. And I do that with all my friends. All that to say, I could see another group that say white people witnessing on that and
Feeling some type of way.
Now, as I said, we said before, it's my job to know what to do with that and know where it's from and do something about that. And I don't judge whatever. You buy Doc Martens, do you, boo-boo. It's for fashion. That's only me. I'm not going to judge you on that necessarily, but I do have my PTSDs and the things I went through. Yeah.
All right, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Leave us your thoughts.
I'm going to put my belt back on.
You're alone, sitting home, waiting by the phone. No crew, only you, nothing left to do. You call on me when you're chilling and you're sipping on your Alizé. It's getting late, no day, now you wanna play. You call on me, why you wanna be a player, caller, a shot caller. I can get it out, make you wanna holler. No time for fake ones. Will you players ever learn? I'll be the one that keeps you calling. I got a love that'll keep you falling, falling, falling for me. Calling, calling on me.